Hey everyone, welcome to the English Fluency Podcast from Speak English Class. I'm Matt.
And I'm Molly.
Molly, you look really happy today. Where did you get that sweater? That color is great on you.
Oh, thank you. I actually picked it up this weekend. I had just got back from a really long walk around Boston, so I'm feeling super energized this morning.
Ah, nice. Yeah, getting outside early makes such a big difference. I need to hit the gym right after we record, honestly.
For sure. So, yeah, today we are talking about, well, probably the hardest part of learning a language. We're talking about how to actually speak.
Right, because we hear this all the time from you guys. You want to know how to physically open your mouth and just speak without panicking. And by the end of our chat today, you're going to have some really practical tools to stop your brain from freezing up and just feel way more in control of your words.
Because it is so incredibly frustrating. You put in the work, you study the vocabulary, you understand the grammar rules, but then you're standing in front of someone. Maybe you're trying to...
Yeah, like you're in a work meeting. You have this great idea in your head.
Uh-huh.
But when it's your turn to talk, the English just completely vanishes. Or, no, what I mean is the words might be there, but you just feel blocked. And you sit there feeling like you can't show people your real personality.
Oh, it feels so isolating. We see you, and we totally understand that journey. It takes so much bravery to put yourself out there in a new language. But when you finally learn how to relax into it and you actually connect with someone, it just changes everything.
It really does. So before we start unpacking all of this, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and leave a comment down below. Tell us where you're from. We always love seeing where you guys are listening from.
Yeah, please do. So let me think about this for a second. Maybe the best place to start is just talking about that initial fear, right? Like why we get so scared in the first place.
Yeah, I think, a lot of that fear comes from this huge myth that we've all been sold. Like, that idea that you need 10,000 hours to master a new skill?
Oh, yeah. You hear that number everywhere. 10,000 hours. That's like treating language learning like a full-time job for 5 years.
Right. And when you're already working full-time and trying to go to the gym and, just live your life, who has 5 years of free time?
Nobody does. But I was actually reading some research on this recently, and it turns out that whole 10,000 hour rule, it's sort of a massive misunderstanding.
Huh. Really?
Yeah, so the original studies were looking at ultra-competitive, world-class experts, like Olympic athletes or chess grandmasters, people at the very, very top of their field. Therefore, people just sort of assumed that applies to learning anything.
Ah, I see. So the 10,000 hours is to be the best in the world, not just to order a coffee or make a friend.
Right. If you just want to go from knowing zero to being reasonably good at something, it actually only takes about 20 hours of focused practice.
Think about that. Just 20 hours.
Which is just like 45 minutes a day for a month.
Okay, that is so much more manageable. But, let me think about this for a second. If it only takes 20 hours to get past that beginner stage, why do so many of us quit before we even get there?
Well, because those first 20 hours feel terrible. You feel kind of stupid, honestly. You're making mistakes, so that emotional barrier is just huge.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nobody likes feeling stupid. And I guess that leads to the other big excuse we hear all the time. People try for a few weeks, they feel silly, and then they say, well, I just don't have the language talent. I wasn't born with the right gene.
That is such a common thing to say. But again, science tells a totally different story there.
Wait, actually, I was looking at some studies on polyglots, people who speak like 7 or 8 languages fluently, and you'd think they are all just naturally gifted geniuses. But it turns out a lot of them actually failed their language classes in high school, like they studied for 10 years and couldn't speak a word.
That's wild. 10 years and nothing?
Yes, they were terrible at it. So it clearly isn't some magic gene. What changed was they stopped treating it like a boring school subject. They started doing things they actually enjoyed in the language.
Okay. So they didn't have a special brain. They just changed the system.
Right, because if you enjoy what you're doing, you don't mind feeling a little silly in those first 20 hours. You just push through it.
Yeah, and speaking of enjoying it, once you actually find something fun to do, there's a biological reason why it works so much better. Like, I was reading some fascinating research the other day about how our brains actually acquire language.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's not by, staring at a list of vocabulary words. They call it brain soaking.
Brain soaking. That sounds kind of messy.
Right? But it basically just means surrounding yourself with the language. Putting yourself in a situation where you hear a ton of it, even if you don't understand every single word.
So like having a podcast like this one on while you're cooking or watching a show.
Uh-huh. Because your brain is naturally picking up the rhythms and the patterns, and eventually, well, think about it like this. Have you ever watched a show in a foreign language, and at first it's just noise, but by season 3, you just sort of get it?
Oh, for sure. That happened to me when I first moved to Spain. At first, you can't tell where one word ends and the next one begins, but then you start to figure out the message just from the context, like from their body language or the situation.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually a science behind this, and it is called comprehensible input. When you understand the message first, your brain just naturally acquires the language without you even forcing it.
True. You're not forcing it at all, which actually that brings up a really good point. Because when people try to force it, they usually fall into this huge trap.
What's that?
Translating everything in their head.
Oof, yeah, that's the worst. It slows you down so much.
It really does. So instead, there's this technique called direct connecting.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, think about the word fire. When I say fire, you don't picture the letters F-I-R-E spelled out in your mind, right?
No, I guess I think of heat or a campfire, the smell of smoke.
Right, exactly. Or wait, let me rephrase that. You have an image and a feeling attached to it. So when you learn a new word in English, don't translate it back to your native language first. That just adds a whole extra step.
Ah, I see. So you bypass the translation entirely. You connect the new English sound directly to that image of a campfire in your head.
Yeah. They describe it as same box, different path. You already have the box, the feeling of fire, so you just build a new path straight to it.
Same box, different path. I really like that, because if you're translating every single word back and forth, you're basically doing double the work. It's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. But therefore, if you just link the word directly to the feeling or the image, it becomes automatic.
Oh, yeah, it's like you're building a new highway straight to the meaning, and that makes thinking on your feet so much easier.
So, okay, let's say you've done the work. You've been brain soaking, you're not translating in your head as much, but then you walk into work or you're just at a coffee shop and someone suddenly asks you a question.
Right. The real business starts here.
Yeah, because living here in New York, just walking down the street in New York, you constantly get stopped by tourists or random people asking for directions. And I've seen non-native speakers just completely freeze up. It's like a deer in headlights.
Mm-hmm. It happens all the time here in Boston, too. You see people who are perfectly capable of writing a beautiful, complex email in English, but the second they have to speak spontaneously, it's just total panic.
Right, and there's actually some incredible research on this exact thing, spontaneous speaking. And the researchers found that 85% of people are terrified of speaking in public or being put on the spot. And they joked that the other 15% are just lying.
Oh, for sure. I'd be sweating.
But the really interesting part of the research is how we handle that anxiety. Because usually, well, think about what happens. Your stomach drops, maybe your hands get a little sweaty, and you immediately think, oh no, I'm nervous. Everyone is going to hear my accent, they're going to know I'm panicking, my English is going to sound terrible.
Mm-hmm. It's like a spiral. You get anxious about being anxious.
Yes, and then you crash. So what we should do instead is actually something totally different. Instead of fighting it or trying to force yourself to calm down, which, never works,
No, never.
you should actually just greet the anxiety.
Huh. Greet it? Like, say hello to it?
Literally, yeah. Just kind of acknowledge it in your head, like, okay, my heart is beating fast. This is me feeling nervous because I'm about to do something consequential.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, because anxiety actually gives you energy. It helps you focus. You don't want to get rid of it completely, but just by saying, hey, I see you, I'm nervous, it stops that spiral from getting out of control.
I love that. This is me feeling nervous. It's so validating. And it makes me think about why we trigger that spiral in the first place. I was reading some other work on this, and it pointed out that a lot of us view speaking, especially in a second language, as a performance.
A performance.
Right, like you're an actor on a stage. And if you're performing, well, there's a script. There's a right way to say your lines and a wrong way. If you use the wrong preposition or you mess up the past tense, you failed the performance.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is exactly how it feels.
But real life isn't a performance. So the experts really emphasize this idea of reframing the moment. Stop seeing it as a performance and start seeing it as just a conversation.
How do you mean? Like just changing how you label it in your head?
Yeah, because when you're just having a conversation, there's no strict script. There's no one right way to say something. Sure, there are better and worse ways to explain an idea, but if you mess up a word, you just self-correct and keep going.
Right.
It takes so much pressure off because then, like when your boss asks you a question in a meeting, you don't see it as a threat. You don't see it as a test you have to pass. You just see it as an opportunity to share what you know.
An opportunity. That is such a massive shift, because if you see a question as a threat, your brain just goes into survival mode, right? You give the shortest, safest answer possible and just try to escape.
Yes, I am fine. Thank you. Goodbye.
But therefore, if you reframe it as an opportunity, like, oh, hey, I get to explain this cool project I'm working on, your whole body language changes. You open up. You're not defending yourself anymore.
That's true. It's like you're co-creating the moment with the other person rather than performing for them.
Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, because fundamentally, communication is just about making the other person comfortable and transferring an idea. It's not about being flawless.
So true. And I think, building on that idea of not performing, there's another massive mental trap we all fall into when we speak.
What's that?
We try so hard to be interesting. Or to use that one really impressive vocabulary word we just studied last night.
Oh yeah, we want to sound smart, especially if you're a professional, working a corporate job in New York or Boston. You are used to sounding highly competent in your native language.
Right. So when you switch to English, you want to maintain that same level of greatness. You want to sound like an expert. But there's this amazing concept from communication research. It actually comes from the world of improvisation, and the rule sounds almost insulting at first.
Okay, I'm curious. What is it?
The experts say you have to dare to be dull.
Dare to be dull. Like, try to be boring?
Sort of. The idea is that, let me think about how to explain this. When you strive for greatness, when you desperately want your answer to be incredibly memorable and grammatically flawless, you actually get in your own way.
Because you're overanalyzing everything.
Yeah, you over-evaluate, you freeze up, and you end up saying nothing at all. Because the burden of being perfect is just too heavy. But therefore, if you just allow yourself to give a basic, simple, dull answer, you actually start communicating.
Ah, I see. That makes so much sense, because your brain is just trying to protect you from making a mistake. I remember reading about this exercise they do in those spontaneous speaking workshops, where they ask people to just walk around, point at objects in the room, and shout out the wrong name.
Oh, right, like pointing at a chair and calling it an apple.
Yeah, but what happens is people immediately start planning. They look around and secretly build a list in their head of what they're going to say before the game even starts. Or they'll just name a pattern of fruits: apple, banana, orange.
Because they don't want to get caught off guard.
Right, because our brains are wired to get things right, even when the rules of the game say there is no right answer. The researchers call it stockpiling. You are stockpiling answers. And man, I see English learners do this all the time.
How do you mean?
Well, you're in a conversation and the other person is talking to you, but you're not even listening to them. You are stockpiling. You're building this perfect, flawless sentence in your head, translating it, checking the grammar, verbs.
Oh my gosh, yes. And by the time you're finally ready to say your perfect sentence out loud, the conversation has already moved on.
For sure. You totally missed the moment because you were trying to be perfect instead of just being present.
Wow, yeah. So daring to be dull is really just giving yourself permission to use the simple words you already know. Like, it's okay if your sentence is basic. It's okay if it's not a poetic masterpiece.
Right. Just respond. Because if you set the bar at perfect, you'll never jump over it. But if you lower the bar to just good enough or even dull, the words start flowing. And ironically, that's when you end up sounding really natural and fluent.
I love that. It takes so much pressure off. You just let the simple words do the work.
So, okay, we talked about lowering the bar, daring to be dull so you don't freeze up.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you do that, even if you decide to just use simple words, you still need someone to actually talk to, right? And I feel like that can be terrifying if you pick the wrong person.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, if you're just standing in line at a coffee shop here in Boston and you try to practice your English with the cashier, they're busy, they're rushing, they might not have the patience if you're stumbling over your words.
Right, right. And then you feel terrible and you never want to try again. So you really need, well, a safe space to practice. And there's actually this concept from language acquisition research that I love. They call it finding your language parent.
A language parent? What does that mean? Like someone who treats you like a baby?
No, no, no. Or wait, let me rephrase that. It's not about treating you like a baby. It's about looking at how real parents listen to their kids when they're first learning to speak.
Ah, I see.
Because think about it, when a toddler is learning to talk, they don't use full sentences. They just sort of mix core words together. They'll just say like, me, bath, now.
Uh-huh.
And the parent doesn't stop them and say, excuse me, that is grammatically incorrect. Please use the proper subject and verb agreement.
Right, that would be ridiculous. The parent just listens to the meaning. They go, oh, you want a bath? Okay, let's go get in the tub.
Yeah, they feed back their understanding of what the kid meant, and they use simple words the kid already knows. But the most important part, and this is a huge rule for a language parent, is that they never correct your mistakes.
Wow, never?
Never. Because if someone corrects every single verb tense you get wrong, you shut down. The frustration barrier gets too high.
That's so true. I mean, think about how exhausting it is to be constantly corrected. You just lose all your confidence. So a language parent is someone who just works really hard to understand what you're trying to communicate, even if you are way off.
Yeah, they communicate with you as an equal, but they create this incredibly safe environment where you can just experiment. Because really, language is just a creative process.
How do you mean?
Well, if you know just 10 verbs, 10 nouns, and 10 adjectives, you can mix those together to say 1,000 different things.
1,000? Just from 30 words?
Yes, but you have to actually practice mixing them up. And you can't do that if you're terrified of making a mistake. You need a safe person to practice with.
Oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. So where do you find someone like that? Because I know, like, trying to learn a language with your husband or your wife, that usually ends in an argument.
Oh, research actually specifically mentions that. It says spouses are terrible at this.
I knew it. They just don't have the patience.
Right. So it needs to be someone who is genuinely interested in you as a person, maybe a good friend or a language exchange partner, or a tutor who understands this rule, someone who won't jump in with a red pen every time you speak.
Because once you find that person, you can just start playing with the language. You can take those core words, mix them up, see what works, and if they understand you, well, then you're communicating.
That's the whole point. You're communicating, and that builds your confidence so much faster than sitting alone with a grammar book. So pausing is great, right? But let me think about how to say this. A pause really only works if the words you say after the pause actually make sense.
Right. If you just take a dramatic pause and then spit out a totally chaotic, messy sentence, it doesn't really help your confidence.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we speak in a second language, or even our native language when we're nervous, we tend to ramble, like our mouths are moving way faster than our thoughts.
Oh, I am so guilty of this. I mean, you have an idea, and halfway through explaining it, you realize you didn't give enough background information. So you backtrack, and then you see the other person looking a little confused.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain just goes into overdrive. You start over-explaining, just layering on more and more words, hoping something eventually sticks.
It's the worst feeling, because you know your stuff, right? You're smart, you know the answer, but therefore, when you ramble like that, you end up sounding totally unsure of yourself. Your brilliant idea just becomes background noise.
Yeah, and research shows that's because your brain is trying to multitask mid-sentence. You're trying to say one thing while simultaneously planning the next three things you want to say.
Right.
So the fix for this, and I love this concept from communication experts, is that you have to use a mental framework because, well, they say structure actually sets you free.
Structure sets you free. That sounds a little contradictory. Like, shouldn't structure make you feel boxed in and robotic?
You'd think so, right? But if you don't have a structure, your brain uses up all its energy just trying to figure out how to organize the words. If you already have a mental map of how to structure your thoughts, you reduce that cognitive load, and you can just focus on what you want to say.
Ah, I see. That makes a lot of sense. You don't have to invent a new way to tell a story every single time you open your mouth. So, what kind of framework are we talking about?
So there are a few really simple ones. One that experts teach is called CCC. It stands for context, core, and connect.
Context, core, connect. Okay, so how would you use that in real life?
Okay, let's say you're at work and you need to tell your boss that a project is going to be late. Usually, people just panic and start rambling about all the tiny details, like, oh, the design team didn't send the file and then my computer crashed and I emailed them, but
Oh yeah, you're making excuses before you even say what the actual problem is.
true. But if you use CCC, first you give context. Set the scene. Give them the why before the what. You'd say, as you know, we're launching the new campaign next week.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the core. This is the main idea, just one clear, simple sentence. We are going to need 2 extra days to finish the edits. And then finally, you connect. You tell them why it matters to them. This extra time will ensure the brand looks professional and we don't put out sloppy work.
Wow, that is so much better. You just sound in control. You didn't ramble at all.
Yeah, context, core, connect. It replaces all that hesitation with clarity.
I really like that. And it reminds me of another framework I read about. It's super popular in business schools for spontaneous speaking. It's just 3 questions. What? So what? Now what?
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's so good for when you get put on the spot. Like if someone asks you a question out of nowhere and you don't have time to plan, you just follow the 3 steps.
Uh-huh.
First, what? What is the situation or the idea? Then, so what? Like, why is this important? Why should the person listening actually care? And then, now what? What are the next steps?
I mean, you can use that for almost anything. Answering a question, introducing someone at a networking event.
For sure. Like, wait, actually, let me try it right now. Let's say someone asks me why I'm taking an English class.
Okay, yeah, put it to the test.
So, what? I'm taking a spoken English fluency course. So what? Because I want to feel confident sharing my ideas in international meetings without freezing up. Now what? So I'm practicing my speaking for 20 minutes every morning before work.
That was perfect. It's like a little story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right, because we are storytelling animals, Our brains love that rhythm of 3. And when you finish one complete thought before jumping to the next one, you just sound so much smarter. You're not forcing the listener to mentally chase you around trying to figure out your point.
Yeah, and it really forces you to make declarative statements. You just state the facts one by one with full stops. It's so powerful.
So having those frameworks really helps you mid-conversation. But I think a lot of people still get hung up on this idea that they just aren't naturally good at speaking. Like they think some people are just born communicators and the rest of us are out of luck.
Yeah, the talent myth creeping back in.
Yeah, but there's this really cool formula that we teach, and it completely disproves that. It's all about how you actually make an impact when you communicate.
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about. Is it the KPT formula?
That's the one, K plus P plus T.
So break that down for us. What does that actually stand for? We're not doing some weird math, guys, I promise.
No, we are not. Well, it basically says your overall success in speaking depends on three things. K is for knowledge, P is for practice, and T is for talent.
Uh-huh.
But the catch is the T is tiny, like microscopically small compared to the other two.
So it's not about being born with a silver tongue.
Right. Wait, actually, let me give you an analogy that perfectly explains this. Imagine a world-class Olympic gymnast. You know, perfect balance, incredible athleticism, total control over their body.
Okay.
Now, put them on snow skis for the very first time on a really steep mountain.
Oh no, they are going down.
Right? They're going to be falling all over the place. Now, I am not an Olympic athlete, not even close, but I can ski way better than them simply because I have the knowledge of how to ski, and I've practiced it. They only have the raw talent.
Ah, I see. So if you have the knowledge of how to speak, like using the frameworks we just talked about, and you put in the hours to practice, you will beat out the naturally talented speaker who just wings it every time.
For sure, because you're relying on a system, not just a mood. It puts the control back in your hands.
That is so empowering, which actually, that word, empowering, it brings up another huge piece of making an impact, especially if you're, starting a meeting, giving a presentation, or even just having a high-stakes conversation at work.
How you open the conversation.
Yeah, because people usually do one of two things, right? They either start with a joke to try and break the ice.
Oh yeah, which almost always falls flat because people are still settling in, putting their phones away, adjusting to your voice. They aren't ready to laugh yet.
Right. Or the other thing people do is just jump straight into a really dry, boring agenda. Today, we will talk about the Q3 budget. But communication research shows that the most effective way to start is with an empowerment promise.
An empowerment promise. Let me think about how that sounds in practice.
Well, instead of just stating the topic, you make a promise about what the listener is going to walk away with. You tell them what they will know at the end of the conversation that they didn't know at the beginning.
Ah, so you give them a selfish reason to actually care.
Yeah, so instead of the boring agenda, you'd say something like, by the end of this meeting, you'll know exactly where we can cut costs so nobody has to work overtime this weekend.
Oh, wow, yeah. If you say that to me, I am putting my laptop away and I am listening to every single word you say.
Right? You've promised to empower them with something valuable. It totally changes that dynamic right from the first second because it makes the conversation about them, not about you.
So, okay, if the empowerment promise is how you open and grab their attention, what about how you close? Because I feel like that's where I always just kind of fizzle out.
Oh, the ending. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll push through my nerves, I'll say everything I need to say in English, and then I just awkwardly go, so yeah, thank you.
Oh, I know. Thank you for listening. We all do it. But communication experts actually say that is one of the weakest moves you can make.
Really? But isn't it just polite?
You'd think so, right? But let me think about how they explain this. When you say, thank you for listening, it secretly implies that everyone only stayed out of politeness. It assumes they had a profound desire to be literally anywhere else, and you are thanking them for enduring your terrible speech.
Oh, wow, yeah, I see that. It's almost like you're apologizing for taking up their time. You're basically giving away all your authority right at the last second.
Right. You did all this hard work to sound confident. You lowered the bar. You used your frameworks. You did the power drop. And then you end on a whimper.
Okay, so what are you supposed to do instead? You can't just stare at them in silence and walk out of the room.
No, please don't do that. Instead of a weak thank you, the recommendation is to salute the audience.
Salute them? Like a military salute?
No, no. Or wait, what I mean is a verbal salute. You validate them. You make it about the value of the interaction.
Ah, so like, it's been really great sharing this project with you all today. I've been really provoked by your questions.
Yeah. Or if you're just having a one-on-one chat, you could say, I'm so glad we got to talk about this. You brought up some really great points.
I love that. It leaves the other person feeling respected, but it keeps you looking totally confident.
Uh-huh. Because people really remember how you make them feel, right at the very end of an interaction. And if you end by saluting them, you leave them with this lasting impression of someone who is in control, even if your English wasn't totally flawless.
That is so true. It's just a completely different energy.
Yeah, so instead of apologizing for speaking, you just own it. You value their time, you value your own words, and you walk away looking completely capable.
I absolutely love that. And honestly, wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, Molly, haven't we?
We really have. It's a lot of good, useful information, but it's powerful stuff. Are you happy, Matt? Are you feeling inspired?
I am. I really am. I'm actually sitting here thinking about my own Spanish learning journey. Like, okay, Matt, you need to stop apologizing all the time. Stop rambling and just drop your pitch. But at the same time, I completely understand that it is a lot of information to take in all at once for anyone listening.
It is. It really is. It's so easy to listen to a podcast, drink your coffee, feel really motivated and nod along. But then tomorrow morning you walk into the office or you go to the grocery store and you just freeze up again because the real world pressure is back.
Right, exactly. So maybe we should just slow down and make this super concrete for our English learners before we go, because we don't just want to give you theory. We want you guys to walk away from this episode with actual power, knowing exactly what to do next. Like, if someone is listening right now and they want to start feeling better about their spoken English today, what are the actual practical, physical steps they can take?
Ooh, I like that. Yes. And for our listeners, if you have been following all the way through this whole conversation, I promise you have already gained so much more than you think. You really have. And please don't worry if you do not understand every single concept right now. We are going to boil it down for you right here. And remember, you can also listen to this episode again as many times as you need to understand it fully. We are always here. Okay, so the first step, the very first step actually happens before you even open your mouth. It has to be about how you treat the language in your head.
Yeah, exactly. The first step is to stop translating. And what this means in real life is when you learn a new word or when you're just brain soaking by watching a movie or listening to a podcast like this one, try to connect the English word directly to the image or feeling of the thing or concept. Remember that idea of same box, different path. Try not to use your native language as a middleman anymore.
Just let the meaning attach directly to the sound, because when you do that, you're taking away so much of the extra, exhausting work your brain is trying to do. You're giving yourself a break. Okay, so then moving on to step 2. Once you have that mindset, you have to actually open your mouth and practice. But, and this is so incredibly important, you have to do it safely. You need a safe space.
Yeah, exactly. The first step is to stop translating. And what this means in real life is, when you learn a new word, or when you're just brain soaking by watching a movie or listening to a podcast like this one, try to connect the English word directly to the image or feeling of the thing or concept. Remember that idea of same box, different path. Try not to use your native language as a middleman anymore.
Just let the meaning attach directly to the sound, because when you do that, you're taking away so much of the extra exhausting work your brain is trying to do. You're giving yourself a break. Okay, so then moving on to step 2, Once you have that mindset, you have to actually open your mouth and practice. But, and this is so incredibly important, you have to do it safely. You need a safe space.
Right. And what that looks like is finding your language parent. Find that one patient friend or a tutor, and again, probably not your husband or wife, let's keep the peace at home, but find someone who will just genuinely listen to what you're trying to communicate, without holding a red pen to your grammar every 5 seconds. You need someone who is just happy you are trying.
Yes, exactly. And when you finally sit down to practice with them, you have to dare to be dull. Lower the bar for yourself. Please give yourself permission to just use the simple, basic words you already know. Instead of stockpiling and building the more complicated sentences in your head, you already have the vocabulary you need inside of you. Just get the words out. It doesn't have to be perfect poetry.
Oh yeah, just respond. Because honestly, a simple, basic answer right now in the moment is always, always better than a perfect, grammatically flawless answer 5 minutes too late. You are just having a conversation with another human being. That's all it is.
For sure. That is so true. Okay. And then the final step, step 3. This is for when you're out there in the real world. Maybe you are in a meeting at work and you really need to deliver your ideas with actual authority and confidence.
Wait, actually, let me add something to that, because it's not just about authority, it's also about controlling your physical body when you feel nervous, the physical side of it. You have to remember to use the power drop. Just gently bring your vocal pitch down at the end of your sentences, so you don't sound like you're constantly asking for permission to speak. You belong in that room, so let your voice show it.
Yes, that is such a good reminder. And use the white space. If you feel yourself starting to panic, if your heart is racing and you start to ramble, it is completely okay to just stop. Take a breath. Take a purposeful pause. Nobody is rushing you as much as you are rushing yourself.
Right. And then, when you've taken that breath and you start speaking again, lean on a simple structure to guide you. Just use CCC. Give them the context of the situation, state your core message really simply, and then connect it back to why they should care. It acts like a little map for your brain so you don't get lost.
That's it. 1, 2, 3. It really is that straightforward. It's not about having some magical talent gene that you're born with. It's really just about having the right, simple tools and knowing that you are totally capable of using them.
It really is. And once you start doing these things, even just a little bit every day, I promise you that fear of speaking just starts to melt away. You realize you're actually communicating, you're making connections, you're sharing your ideas.
Yeah, and it's the absolute best feeling in the world. We really hope you have enjoyed this episode with us today and that you feel a little lighter and more confident.
So before we go, we really want to hear from you English learners out there. Which of these 3 practical steps are you going to try first this week? Are you going to focus on finding a language parent, or are you going to practice the power drop in your next meeting? Drop a comment below and let us know. We love hearing your stories.
Yeah, please do. We read all of them. And if you enjoyed hanging out and having coffee with us today, make sure to like this episode, share it with other English learners who might need a little encouragement, and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat.
All right, Molly, we are finally at the end of the episode for today. I want to say to everyone listening, have a great week, be kind to yourselves, keep practicing, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.